And I was walking with my father as a blonde child, and people were actually confronting my father, asking if he had robbed me from somewhere.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Since I was a child, people just assumed that I was like 5 years older than I am, which then meant that everybody put more responsibility onto me. They just threw me on, and I just had to manage. Nowadays, happily, I have a huge network of great people.
How can I leverage that network to actually be able to take the initiative, take the step to say, hey, I need help? How do I do that in a way that still makes sense for me and I'm not feeling bad about it?
I mean, you probably will feel bad about it. So that is something that you just have to come to terms with.
I lost my backbone somewhere in Stockholm.
Hey, allihopa, and welcome to Somewhere in Stockholm, a podcast production brought to you by Experience Stockholm. This is a podcast where we like to discuss topics related to Stockholm as a city, as well as dive deeper into interesting Swedish cultural phenomena. I'm Frankie, your host, and I'm excited to bring you a very special guest in this podcast episode, and her name is Viveca Viso. Viveca Karima Viso is a dynamic leader with extensive experience in driving growth, transformation, and sustainability across C-level roles including CGO, COO, VP, and change manager. With a hands-on background in industries such as real estate, finance, hospitality, Proptech, and Fintech, she specializes in accelerating revenue, streamlining operations, and building strong, diverse teams while fostering lasting partnerships. Guided by her belief in diversity, equity, and inclusion, Viveca partners with founders, CEOs, boards, and entrepreneurs to deliver measurable impact and long-term results. Drawing on her Spanish, North African, and Swedish heritage and fluency in Swedish, Spanish, and English, she brings a unique perspective to leadership roles and is deeply committed to empowering women in entrepreneurship and executive roles. Beyond her professional expertise, she's passionate about travel, modern photography, and music, with a lifelong connection to horses and the sea, and a people-centered philosophy that emphasizes listening, understanding, and empowering others. This is Viveca through and through. I've had the pleasure of meeting her several times over. On every occasion, she's always showed up as the most bright, interesting, charismatic, and awesome person. So I'm happy to welcome you, Viveca, today. And let's get started into this conversation. Let's talk a little bit about your background and how it embodies this concept of mellanforskap. Did I say that right?
Yeah, well, yes. Yes, you did.
You can say
your Swedish is very good for not being Swedish, but mellanforskap, we call it in Swedish.
Mellanforskap.
Yes. Or in-betweeners, which I
Yes.
think now is becoming sort of like an accepted term in English as well.
And tell me a little bit about how you relate to that, the in-betweenness between cultures and...
So my mother, she comes from like an upper middle class Swedish family, well educated, well connected, to say the least. And she married my father, who is Spanish, very different from my mother, both in terms of education and family, etc. Two very different people that met, and that's sort of like what I come from. So my mother, academic, high achiever, director, horse person, hard ass, like
Yes.
really tough, and known, like my friends when we grew up were afraid of her because she was like, she you didn't play around with my mom.
Yeah.
And then my father, who was sort of like the playboy, the model, the one that knew everybody, the what's that, social fly, do you say that?
Yeah, social butterfly.
Butterfly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and extremely skilled at that, like extremely skilled, knew everyone. And his family came from northern Morocco. So northern Morocco used to be under the protectorate of Spain.
Yeah.
Which again comes back to me understanding colonialism, because I actually came from that.
Yeah, your heritage.
So, understanding your background, your history, and being respectful towards that. And they were sort of like, living in Tangier, and then when Tangier was given back to Morocco in Ceuta, which still, Ceuta in Spanish, still belongs to Spain today.
Yeah.
And my aunt still lives there. And in these enclaves, I think it's called even in English, enclaver in Swedish, these were like microcosmoses of worlds.
Yeah.
All world religions were there, all types of people were there, backgrounds, educational backgrounds, in these small areas where trade happened, right? So it was a multicultural way of living. And that's how I spent my summers.
Yeah.
And I was the only blonde child, because I was very, very blonde as a child. And, you can't get
Fair
whiter.
skin. Yeah.
So I was the odd one out, right? And I'm not comparing that to anything. I'm just saying that I was always standing out in some way. And then my father was, knew a lot of people, also was a best friend with one of Spain's most famous guitarists, Paco de Lucia, flamenco guitarist, like big, huge, and, So I grew up partially in Paco de Lucia's mother's and Pepe, his brother's mother's summer house.
Wow.
In Algeciras, where my family comes from, on the beach. Rinconcillo, and if you know Alejandro San, we have some famous people that comes from the city, but with travelers, because Pepe was the manager of big flamenco stars, and travelers and Roman people are the ones performing this art form. So then again, imagine me.
In the middle of all these people.
Yeah. And also going to like Seville and Triana, sleeping on the tables with my father, up till 5-6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
With all of this different cultures, Arabic, Moroccan, West Indies, and travelers, everything coming together. From that, then coming back to my mom's, which was
strict Swedish household.
Yes. And very sort of like...
Squared.
Yeah. She is also extremely, I would say, like before her time in many ways. So I wouldn't call her square, but it was totally different, right? So I think that all of that has made me into who I am. And then, of course, like with the social economic status and comes certain privileges, right, that I have learned, like things and skills that people might not think is important, but is. I mean, I don't know the word in English, but eating right, the etiquette, and these things. Like, yes, my grandma, my mother's side, she was like sitting with a measuring thingy to make sure that I come from a strict background.
Yeah. And
then going to my father's family, where it was sort of like...
wild out.
And it was, it wasn't mayhem or anything like crazy, but it was.
Yeah.
It was. So it was totally different worlds. And then, of course, my father moved here to Sweden. But in Sweden, who was he? Nobody. Because he was a beach bum in people's mind. And back then, if you weren't from Sweden, even though you were white, you were called these terrible names on the streets. Yeah. And I was walking with my father as a blonde child, Drottninggatan, and people were actually confronting my father, asking if he had robbed me from somewhere.
Oh my God.
Not asking him, asking me.
Yeah, oh my God. That's terrible.
And these kind of experiences and of course threw me as a child. Yeah. Because this was my dad. Yeah. And I loved my dad. Yeah. But that also gave me a perspective that, okay, so this is how people are treated. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And also him, and still he lives in this country and doesn't speak a word of Swedish. I mean, come on. He's lived here since the 70s. Yeah. Like, how can you? And that also comes with a responsibility on my side. Like I have to help him with paying his bills, and I have to help him with a lot of things, when it comes to authorities and yada, yada. He has made things work for him, but of course it has excluded him from a huge part of society.
Yeah.
And also made me see a big part of society where people just write him off because of the fact that he does not fit in.
Yeah.
So that has also given me a perspective. And he, of course, did not live in the city center or on a horse farm where I grew up. He lived in the suburbs. He was like orten.
Yeah.
So that is also my perspective. Both like socially, economically different, educationally different, culturally different, biasly different, languages, like everything.
Yeah. So it made you someone who's very aware of discrimination.
Extremely aware.
And prejudice and bias. And
yes.
So you couldn't ignore it,
No.
as an adult. Exactly,
No.
yeah.
And also, like my grandma on my mother's side, she ran a halfway house.
What is that?
Taking on drug addicts, helping them recover.
Oh, wow.
And my mother was at some point also the director of social
services.
Social services in Stockholm. So I come from a family where we were always giving back to society in one form or another. So I also saw, and we also had addiction on my father's side. So, and my father's side and relatives sent people that needed to detox.
To be treated.
Yeah.
Wow.
To my mom's.
Wow.
Because she had the skills.
Wow.
So I saw a lot of things where people were like on the very, very bottom, and then how they could recover from that. Yeah.
With support.
Yeah. Exactly, with support. And also my psychologist stepfather was an alcoholic.
Oh my gosh.
So I saw that part as well. So I mean, all of these things that you are confronted with throughout life makes you into who you are, right? And if you see a lot of different things, but still have a safe environment when you experience these things, you can use those experiences in understanding people.
Yeah.
And also understanding
being
that,
empathetic.
Yeah. But not just empathetic in a way like pity people, but understanding that, okay, what you do is not necessarily who you are.
Yeah, empathetic but not sympathetic, so that you're not just giving them sympathy like they're charity.
Exactly. You need to sort of like give me something for me to trust you when it comes to that, because you haven't earned the trust. You can't be naive in that way, but you also need to understand that everybody can change. Might take them longer, but they have to want it themselves. You can't force it on them.
Yeah.
It has to come from within. Again, it starts within.
Yeah.
And I've seen that firsthand. And I've lived different truths and different realities and different dimensions, I would say, which has made me into the person that I am.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think that is going to give a better perspective, I think, to everybody who's listening of what you've gone through and also what you've been exposed to your whole life.
Yeah.
So that, like you said, it made you who you are. And that's a beautiful person.
Yeah.
So.
And that's also why my name, Karima, like people ask me, like, Karima, that's an Arabic name? Yes, because I have that.
From the Morocco side.
Yeah. And also, like, I love one of Paco de Lucia's most famous guitar songs is Entre dos aguas, In Between Waters, because of Spain and Morocco being so close together, where we are from, this small little town in south of Spain, in northern Morocco, Ceuta. And that is actually how I also identify.
Yeah. Between the waters.
Mellanförskap. Yeah, mellanförskap.
Yeah.
In between us. Entre dos aguas. That's who I am. And that's fine, because you have to travel those waters and you have to be comfortable going back and forth and just, understanding what drives you and what's your why and why you're doing things. And if you know that, then everything is okay.
I love that. So then do you feel that being exposed so early on to all those, ideas and maybe topics that typically children wouldn't discuss really around their parents, or their parents wouldn't discuss around their children. Do you think that has shaped also the way, like, who you've become as a leader, as a person? How has that helped you?
Definitely. I think that for me, again, I'm not saying that I'm different, but I'm saying that I'm quite aware. So I've always been quite tall. So since I was a child, like very early on, people just assumed that I was like 5 years older than I am. Which then meant that everybody put a lot more responsibility onto me than my peers at the same age. So like during kindergarten, I was the one that took care of the younger children. And when I was older and started writing classes, for example, they put me when I was 7 in a group with 14-year-olds.
Oh my God. But
yes.
They knew your age, no?
They knew my age, but they just assumed, because of the fact that I come from a family of horses and yada yada, that, she's tall as the rest of them, so they had to also match the ponies with, the same group, blah, blah, blah. And so it was their sense, but this is way back when. That wouldn't happen today.
Yeah.
But they just threw me on, and I just had to manage. I did. Nowadays, you would never, ever do that to a child, especially not, with today's hard work that the riding schools have been doing in Sweden to make sure that everybody's included. But back then it was sort of like throw you into the water and then you swim. And I swam. So yeah, but that has always been how I have learned. Like, people just assume and I just step up. And rarely I don't manage. And when I don't manage, nowadays, happily, I have a huge network of great people to ask, which has also been a huge part of my life, the power of networking, making sure that you have great minds, wonderful people that you can actually call and reach out to when you need them, that are always, always happy to help. But that, of course, is because I am the same way.
Yes.
So, you can't just expect people to be in a certain way if you don't act the way that you want them to treat you, which is also, I think it was Gandhi that said, be the change you want to see, or something similar. I shouldn't quote in English, but something like that.
Yes. Be the change you want to see in the world, yeah.
And I'm a true believer in that.
But then, speaking to the power of networking and giving back, I know that you're a big proponent of giving back, and you have your food for thought.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit more about it, in case people don't know what that initiative is.
I just recently baptized it. Like, my baby has a name, because it was actually something that was born like 20 years ago. So this is something I've always done. And it started out with friends asking me, oh, Viveca, could you help with this? And I was like, sure, I can. And I come from a mixed culture where we share conversation over food. And this is also a great way for people to relax and feel comfortable. And also, if you are invited, the Swedish culture with fika and everything, it doesn't have to be a full meal. It can be just something, but you do something, like coffee is very common. So that was how it started. And it started with friends that asked me with help with their CVs, help with training for interviews, etc., etc. Because I was early on managing people. That was sort of like, I started to work when I was 18-ish. And like 2 months in, could you please be the team leader of this group? Because we need somebody that can take. So that was sort of like how it all started, with the management part of it. Which then again tells you a little bit of how easy it was for me from the get-go with sort of like managing people.
Yeah, to take on responsibility.
Yeah, and also understanding people and being able to make people feel comfortable in me helping them become their best. So with that then came friends asking me, okay, so how do I get a foot through the door? And I was sort of like, well, that's easy. And they were like, no, it's not. And I'm like, how come? Because I can, and I've never gone to school. I don't have this. I rarely finished high school. So with no formal education, all of these friends of mine that went to university and they couldn't get jobs and they had, difficulties, and I didn't. So I just assumed, well, it must be something that they're doing wrong. Naively, and of course they weren't. But there are small things in terms of how you present yourself that, of course, can help you on the way. So I helped them with that, and that was how it started. And then that evolved, with all of the experience that I have gained throughout the years. Food for thought is me basically saying that anybody that follows me on LinkedIn, I'm not big on social media, but LinkedIn is sort of like my playground. So anybody that follows me there can just send me a DM and then invite me to a lunch. So they choose the lunch, the food, and the place, and it doesn't have to be fancy at all.
You don't have any dietary restrictions?
No.
Like that.
And that's the fun part.
You're the easiest person to go and take out to lunch. Okay.
I am lactose intolerant, but
there you
I
go.
can take pills.
Okay.
Like I want
For
you
the
to
cheese,
feel, yes, because I want to see your world. That's why I'm sort of like there. So I let you invite me to the lunch, a restaurant of your choice, or a lunchbox, by all means. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then we just have a conversation, and you can ask me anything you want in regards to anything that you want to bounce off anybody or mirror or just how do I go about doing this, or do you know somebody that could?
So you try to also in those conversations, are you thinking, how can I help this person using my network, using my skills? Is that what comes to mind? Like how do you approach it? Is it like a coaching session? Is it?
It can be because I'm also an educated business coach. So
That's
of
right.
course, I mean, everything blends, and that's just. You had another great mind here, also a great friend of mine, Alexandra Davis here.
Yes,
and
I
she
love
said,
her.
You can't put me in a box.
Yes.
It's very difficult to put me in a box.
Yes.
So I agree with her on that. I wouldn't say that I'm a shit stirrer, as Alexandra said. I can be, but I do it with a smile. I say that one of my best skills is that I can tell people off and they thank me afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's really a skill.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. And I do it with a smile, and I love it. And yes, but that is something that is very important to learn how to do.
You remind me with that. Sorry for interrupting you, but you remind me. I've gotten this sense from you before of Donna from Suits. I don't know if you watched the show.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
So Donna with her red hair like you,
Ah.
powerful woman. She's always telling people how it is. You totally remind me of her sometimes.
Oh, I love that. That's a great compliment.
No, but you do. You do remind me because I think
I would love to have her admin skills though,
The
because
admin
I'm
skills.
terrible and I can't keep. But yes, I can make magic happen.
No, you can.
Yes,
You definitely can. And you're the sort of person like people go to if they really have one of those problems. Like, how do I solve this? And you're like, let me tell you, I'll get that done.
But you know what? I've actually been compared to another person like television.
Who?
Beth.
From?
From me names. You know me, like something. Sometimes everything
Beth.
Beth from Kevin Costner, Cowboys, Midwest.
So let's...
Yes, Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yellowstone.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I have not watched it, but my mom has watched it.
If you
she
say
really
that I'm a mix of what's her name in Suits?
Donna.
Donna. And Beth from Yellowstone. Oh my God. I mean, that would be...
I mean, yeah.
No,
You're as gorgeous as them, but also like the attitude and personality. I think it's very much
Well,
you.
if you haven't seen Yellowstone and Beth, watch it.
Yeah, I haven't, but my mom has. She told
you
me some
should.
interesting things.
Talk about kick-ass woman
I love it.
with issues, to say the least. Yes.
Okay, so let's chat a little bit more about this idea of networking, because one of my questions often for people who either make a living of their network in the best sense, but also the people who enable and leverage their network in the best way, is often How do you feel comfortable when it's your turn, when you need help? How would you approach that conversation? Because sometimes, like, I'm someone, I think I pride myself in having a very supportive network, but yet whenever I'm actually struggling with something, I really have a hard time asking for help. Like, I feel like I'm going to be a burden, or I'm going to be, bothering someone who's already very busy or very accomplished, such as yourself. Like, I always get a sense that even if you're someone who, advocates and vouches for, I want to give back, I also know that you have your own life and you're struggling with your own things. So how do I approach you? So I think, how do you, as a powerful woman that you are, how do you still have this sort of like ability to, I don't know if it's pride, but the sort of humility to say, I don't know everything, so let me reach out for help, even though it might make me feel, because I have this sort of like complex of like, oh, it might make me feel like I don't have my shit together or that I don't know what I'm doing. And that may affect the perception that person that I admire will have of me. So how do you approach asking for help of your network? I'm Frankie, and I'm quickly just popping in to ask you that if you like our podcast, please make sure you hit that like button, and you'll also subscribe to our channel so you'll be notified whenever we release a new episode. This really helps us grow, and it's a great way for you to support the work that we do and the podcast itself freely. So thank you so much, everyone. And now let's get back to the episode.
Like for me, it comes back to being authentic. And I rarely am the brightest mind in the room. What I do professionally in my profession is being a growth leader, right?
Yeah.
Helping great minds, great entrepreneurs, people come together, finding their why and their sort of like journey forward, their road. Everybody's different, but I help them facilitate that, and often and always with sort of like core business in the center of it.
Yeah.
Sales is my background. That's, the deal is the most important thing ever, because that pays everybody's salary. So no
if you
payment.
don't have sales, you don't have a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sales is everything. But then comes the leadership, because you can't push people if they don't understand where they're going. So you need to have clear goals, clear KPIs, and follow up and support. But with that, talking about leadership as well, which then comes back to the self-leadership that I use on myself, is that I understand that I'm rarely the brightest person in the room. I often lead specialists who are the best at what they do. And I mean, I'm not there to compete with their skills. That's not my skill. My skill is something else. My skill is to make sure that they realize their own inner strengths, weaknesses sometimes as well, and support, their motivation so that they actually become their best self. That is the best skill that I have as a leader, making sure that people are their best version. And also making sure that the teams comes together and that everybody feels included and feels socially secure enough to actually ask the hard questions and to bring up issues that they might not do in an unsafe environment.
Yeah.
Making sure that who's not included in the boardroom or wherever this important meeting is held gets a seat at the table. Making sure that I always do the gap analysis, not worrying so much in regards to the actual facts on the table, because that is not what I'm there for. I'm there for making sure that everything gets facilitated in the right way so that they achieve the results that we need to achieve. And if they do that, then I have achieved my goal. So through them, I'm the best. So if they are the best that they can be, I'm kicking ass.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that said, knowing that I don't know everything, I often say exactly that. Like, I don't know how to do this, but let's figure it out. And that is often how I approach things. Like, I don't get scared when it comes to new challenges. And that is also why I love startups, because startups often, not always, I mean, you don't have to invent the wheel every time, but often it's something new, right? They haven't done it before.
Yeah.
So you can't apply something that is known to something that is unknown. Yeah. And also, you know, like if you want to achieve change, you can't apply what's known to something because you will get the same result. You need to change things up. So often with me, I just take a step back and sort of like look from it like from an eagle perspective. And I sort of like, okay, you want to do this, like, for example, in a food for thought conversation, you want to do this. All right, so what could I compare to that would sort of like match it, but not really? And then I sort of like lay the puzzle, and I have this open bouncing session with the entrepreneur who is the specialist and knows exactly what he or she wants to do. I don't. I just get asked a question, and then through my mind, which is like a ping pong ball,
Yeah. Okay.
I just take all the experience that I have, and then I lay a puzzle. And then I sort of like, with the reflection that he or she gives me back on whatever pops out my mouth, I'm sort of like, okay, now I'm onto something. And then I draw it out of them. So it's rarely me that comes up with a solution.
So you're just a sounding board. Yes. A sounding board for where the conversation goes.
Exactly. So, and I don't have, like, if I'm a CEO, for example, of a company, of course, then I have a mission. Like, I have a goal. This is where we're going. And I'm steering, so you will follow me. But I can do that in a sort of like a harsh way, and I can do that in a way where everybody feels included and also feel like they are part of the journey with me and can also influence the journey, right? I think that is a better way of doing it. But sometimes, of course, you need to sort of like put your foot down or your hand and say, like, this is the way we're going, because I know this is my experience, this is what I want, and you just need to comply, because a company is not a democracy. It is not. And you need to be honest. Again, like, I am extremely authentic and honest and open in regards to sort of like...
The frame.
Yeah. But within that frame, you are free to sort of like bounce off the walls. However, and when I trust you fully. And I always employ or try to attract consultants or whatever, or talent that are much better than I am. Because otherwise, why would I need them?
Yeah.
So
but then circling back to my question, so these are some of the things you do while you're coaching and you're in session with these people, in conversation with these people. But let's say I'm one of those people, and I, as a CEO, I'm hesitating to reach out. How could I approach this? Like, could it be logically or rationally? But this sort of idea of like, I'm gonna go out of my way to bother you and your own life, your personal life, you know, like the commitments you already have, to burden you, be it with this conversation or with, you know, my situation, my uncertainties, my challenges. But maybe I have some hesitation as an entrepreneur or someone dealing with uncertainty about my own skills. Like, maybe I'm not the expert. Maybe I'm a pretty mediocre entrepreneur, and I'm just trying to,
or
like...
you think you are.
Yeah, but, you know, but I'm trying to, like, reach out. So how... Do you have any tips or suggestions for how people can approach more experienced people, such as yourself, but also others in their network, but taking away the shame or sort of, like, guilt of bothering people or... You know, because I feel like there's a hesitation there, like, and to not look like, oh, you know, I'm a total loser because I don't know how to handle this problem, you know. So, do you have any advice there? I don't know if it comes from a place of insecurity, but I think in some way it's also a place of, oh, I know that this person is doing meaningful things, so why would I want to go and annoy them or bother them about my little problems, you know? So I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people in general, like the ones that are currently unemployed or they're jobless, they sometimes feel this sort of, I'm going to be a burden on someone else in my network if I do reach out. So how can I leverage that network to actually be able to take the initiative, take the step to say, hey, I need help, and how do I do that in a way that still makes sense for me and I'm not feeling bad about it?
I mean, you probably will feel bad about it.
Okay.
So that is something that you just have to come to terms with. That if you are feeling uncomfortable doing it, there's nothing that I can say to make you more comfortable. However, knowing that most people are very uncomfortable asking people that they don't know for help, I, who have the privilege of getting people asking me hard questions, have to be very sort of like delicate with that honor that I've been given. So when you ask me a question, it's extremely important that I treat you as an equal. Right?
Yeah.
Because there, this
Hierarchy.
Yeah. And also in a way, like, you feel inferior, perhaps not consciously, but you always do, because you're asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you always feel like you're looking up. So whenever you are the person looking down, even though you're not, but they or
The
one,
dynamic is there.
Exactly, is there. You are in power. That's the dynamic. Like, whoever is in power has to be graceful and has to treat that power very, very delicately and show grace to all people. Because that is the only way that you will sort of, like, in my opinion at least, make sure that people feel that it's okay to ask somebody else again. And that's also why they come back. Because you made them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't such a big thing.
How do you balance then when people ask you for help and when you have your other commitments and fulfillments, like things that you need to fulfill? How do you balance that? Because I'm assuming if you're known as someone who has a lot of grace and who's willing to help, then people are often coming to you as opposed to some of your peers who are maybe very not open to being, interfered with. So I'm wondering, how do you balance this in your own personal life? Do you ever have to say no? Do you ever have... But and how do you approach that? Because I also struggle with this, like setting boundaries around giving back and receiving and asking for help again, like the give and take. How do you find a way to balance all of these things?
You have to know how to set boundaries, right? And it goes back to the self-leadership. Like, if we've all seen the description on the airplane, like you can't save anybody else, you need to save yourself first, right? So
put your oxygen mask on first,
to be able to save others. Same goes here. So like, it's logical. And but of course, when I say it seems extremely easy, it has taken me years. Like, I'm old. It has taken me years to become this sort of, like, okay with saying, yeah, I hear you, would love to help, can't. But then I have a huge network, so I can often sort of, like, push them in another direction, say, okay, I would love to help you, can't do it now, I don't have the bandwidth, but so-and-so might. That is something that I can do. Like, you can always do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So I never shut people down. I do if they have not acted
respectfully or
which, I mean, that has happened to me like once or twice in my life.
Okay.
So it's not a common thing, because thankfully most people do respect me, because I am, I think, a very open and loving person. I try to lead with my heart. I try to be very direct and open. But you have also seen me in action, right?
Yes, of course.
Like, I can talk about difficult things in sort of like a panel situation with somebody that perhaps isn't aware. And I can use that non-awareness as an example of that person not being aware, but in a graceful way. So I don't use it as a way of putting them down. Yeah. Sort of like just stating, this is the way it is. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but this is a perfect example of it. And when you do that in a very relaxing way, authentic way, then people take responsibility and claim. And they're like, yes, that's how it is, right? And then you get honesty, and then you can start the real conversations, because you have to sort of like talk about the elephant in the room, and you have to be very transparent when you want to change things and when you want to make impact. And that's also why I'm so into helping entrepreneurs, because I believe that entrepreneurs is the absolute best way of making impact. Because if you support an entrepreneur, they will probably not only invent something or bring something great to the market that will change for the better, they could probably then employ somebody, or they could, hopefully become millionaires and donate money, or, do other great things.
So do you feel that when you lead with authenticity and you lead with your genuine self, does that, of course, that should make people trust you more easily. I agree, because you show up genuinely and people trust that. They trust what you get, face
Not
value.
everybody does.
No?
No, definitely
Because I'm
not.
wondering how that affects this idea of sponsorship, which you're a big proponent of, sponsoring and kind of vouching for other people.
Yeah.
So tell me, how does your personal brand then reflect on, and enable sponsoring others?
Yeah, but that's again comes back to responsibility. Like, I know you a bit, right? And I can vouch for you in regards to what I've seen.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know you through and through. And if you expect me to vouch for somebody through and through, then you're an idiot. Like, nobody can. I can never guarantee that a person that was great in one situation and that I have great experiences with will thrive under your leadership or in this particular
Context.
or situation. I can only vouch for what I have experienced. And that is my experience. So I have no issue of vouching for a person that I have experience of. Sometimes I've even vouched for people that I don't know personally, but I can see through their own experience that they probably should be able to yada yada yada. Or I can perhaps look at an analysis of a recruitment test or personality test or whatever and see, okay, so this is a type X personality, well, more suited for this or whatever. Like, you can conclude.
So within a
generalizing.
limited scope of interactions with each person, you are then able to assess, okay, I can vouch for this aspect of their skill set, and that's what you vouch for.
Yeah.
And that's what you sponsor them for. And do you think that sponsorship is an effective way for people to, for example, secure jobs? Do you have any examples of this, or secure positions, or
I have, a lot of example of sponsorship. Like, you, and especially not only when it comes to individuals, but when it comes to ventures as well. And, when you see capital, whatever, you need somebody to vouch for you.
Yeah.
Like,
like with investors, for example.
Yeah. What's the word in English? You need to have sort of like one leading investor.
Yeah.
To start, and then the rest will follow.
Yeah.
So that one is vouching for you.
Yeah. They
Taking
were the first crazy ones to believe in you, and then
the other
people
ones might
will
not
follow.
fully believe in you, but they believe in that person that took the leap of faith. So
trust by association.
Exactly. So if you, and again, it comes back to bias, and I'm not, me, I try to prevent bias, and I like that's not what I want the world to look like, but it is a fact.
Yeah.
So if you know of them, you can sort of like use them as well. And people say, well, that's manipulative. No, it's not. It's just how the world works. And if you use it for a good cause, then yeah, okay, fine.
That leads me to the next topic, which is you have been able to kind of navigate your career in very, I would say, unconventional ways, here and there, switching between roles, positions, even adapting, transferring skills. And you've championed equity, and you've championed, ownership along the way. So could you share a time when you chose a different path forward, like something that was a pivoting moment for you, let's say? You had to switch courses. And how did you hold on to your values, and you use those values to help guide the decisions that you had to navigate in uncertainty, where you were pivoting?
I mean, I pivoted my whole life, I think. And in the beginning, it was more out of necessity.
Yeah.
And because it is also a privilege to pivot.
Yeah.
If you do it consciously.
Yes.
So in that sense, I can totally relate to people that have to pivot. It's not a choice; they just have to for survival. And that was how it was for me. Again, I came, started my career with no skill sets, so I just had to learn how to run very fast, which then made it very important and imperative for me to have great minds around me and to learn fast. And if I didn't, which was sometimes tricky for me depending on what the subject was, I had to be, as I said before, liked enough for long enough for them to sort of stand me.
Yeah. So then they wouldn't dispose of you
exactly
and replace you.
Exactly. So I had to find other types of values to gain the experience that I needed to be able to get to the next step, which I always did somehow, and I was always the one that they let in the room, and everybody was like, why is she here? Well, we like her here.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
But
so leading first with the warmth and personality that you had, and then being able to back it up with skills that you gain over time.
But you can't be false. You can't be you can't be doing that manipulatively.
Yeah. So you're not one of those fake it until you make it kind of.
I am.
You are?
I am, definitely. But that's not fake to me.
Okay.
Because I'm very open in
so
regards
you still
to...
say, I don't know about this.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I do fake it till I make it. Because I have faith in my experience. And people say gut feeling, instinct, female instinct, whatever. It is, of course. But it's based on knowledge.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
And
what
I know.
You've done in the past.
Exactly.
Where you've been able to surpass.
Exactly. And in the beginning, I, of course, said a lot. I don't know this. I can't do this. I have no idea. And I think that my first, real job within finance was sort of a great eye-opener for me. Shout out to Christopher Daly. Great leader that took me on. I don't remember how old I was, but very young, and I had no skill sets. I was there for an interview that I was not supposed to get into, but I talked myself into it, and it was for a position as the assistant to the finance director, CFO. I had no, background in economics whatsoever. I was a sales rep, that was my skill. And I met Christopher, and we had a conversation, and he took a liking to me. He was not that old at the time, so probably late 20s. His first sort of big CEO role. And he took a liking, and I said, well, Chris, I don't know this. And he sort of looked at me from top to bottom, up and down, and he was like, yeah, but you seem like a tough cookie. Tuff kaka.
Yes.
Tough cookie. You learn.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we both know where the door is. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. So,
full transparency.
Yeah.
There.
And then I was there. I got a foot through the door. It was extremely difficult for me in the beginning. Extremely difficult for me in a lot of ways. But I managed. Yeah. And that was sort of the first step. And I was sort of, okay, so if I get this position, if I can be part of this journey with these great people, that was then the first, they brought the first digitalized inventory finance product to Sweden. Then I could get any job. Seriously. And just trying to dress the part.
Yes. Yeah, step up as well and see and show yourself as part of this team and this.
And sort of fake it till I make it for myself.
Yeah.
Not for others, because I have to be transparent with them, because they are the ones that is actually taking the risk, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm open with them saying I don't know this, but I tell myself fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it, dress the part, be the part, act the part, you know, you got this, you know this, then poco a poco, as we say in Spanish,
Yes.
you get there.
Yeah. Do you feel, is that something that stays with you throughout your career? And like, where are you at today? How do you feel about your path today and where you're going? Do you have a clear direction, or do you still feel like you're going and swinging as you go?
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like people think, oh, well, she has it all figured out. Never. Like never. I seldom have anything figured out. And that's also sort of like a part of who I am. Like what I know.
Yeah.
And I'm very firm with what I know. What I don't know, I'm also very open with that I don't know. And at the point, you know, where I am right now in my life, I've done so many different things, different roles, different types of businesses. And right now I'm sort of like, I know all of these things. And what should I do with my life? And people are like, yeah, you're such an entrepreneur, Viveca. You should be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, yeah, but you can also be an entrepreneur by being an intrapreneur. Right?
Yeah, effectuating change inside an organization.
And in that sense, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life because I've always been sort of like the early on helper, not perhaps always second up, but fifth up or 10th up or 20th up in the beginning.
You're the support system to make these things work.
Yeah. And now with my experience, I can sort of like, you know, when you sort of like at the racing track and you can sort of like pick your horses by looking at them, that's my skill set.
So are you looking for your next horse, your next bet, or do you feel like you already found it, or what's the next step for you?
I'm definitely looking. Like right now I'm more open than I've ever been to whatever. Yeah. But pivoting, coming back to your questions, like if there was a time where I sort of like had to stay true to my values and then pivot, yes, that has happened to me. It has happened, I think, twice in my life. One was during the financial crisis back in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that old, so I was working back then. And it was a very scary moment for the world. And I was in non-conforming lending, which is subprime, like the cause of it all. And the company that I was with back then was one of 4 companies that did survive in the world, due to the fact that they were excellent at what they were doing, not at all as in the States. Yeah. But that made me crash. The whole, like, I was quite young. I had responsibility for like 60 people in a team. It was like full on. The crisis hit. I had to then sort of like downsize the whole team to survive, like the company. Didn't have the skill set, didn't know, and being who I am, it's always the people first, right? So I was sort of like threw myself out there, and I did too much, too hard, too long, without support, without understanding, without boundaries, and I crashed hard. In a sense, like I had to. You
were misaligned. Your values were misaligned with what you were doing.
Not values necessarily at that point, because it had to be done. But it was at my expense.
Okay.
Which then is misaligning with my values now, like save yourself before you can save.
Self-preservation, yes.
So I burned out. And I had to take 6 months off, and I couldn't get out of the couch. I didn't remember like where I was. I found myself on the bus going to work and didn't know where I was. And from there, I had sort of like, and I got my phone up, didn't know anybody in my phone book, and the only number I remember was my ex's. And I called.
Okay.
And thankfully he answered.
He did.
Coming back to being nice to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. you know, and he's sort of like, okay, where are you? Like, you sound really confused. Where are you? What do you see? Blah, blah, blah. And I described what I saw. And he was like, okay, I know where you are. You are on bus number 4. You are on Odengatan. You are going to work. Jump off and I will call your work and I will, you know, tell them. And from there, it was a whole, you know, big thing with me going into therapy, you know, understanding who
to
I
recover.
was. Yes. And that was really hard. Really, really hard. And when I pivoted that time, that was when I started with Farnham Apartment, which I was part of for 9 years. And that became, and still is, the biggest service department business in the Nordics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, crisis can also become your next big
Opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So from that, and then when I left Farnham, I wanted to learn more about real estate because that was a big part of that business, and also packaging offers in the right way within that industry, making sure that you know, we had customers, which was really difficult back then. Nowadays, no, but then yes, because we actually built the market. So that was also cool. So then I went on to real estate, and that was really tricky because I was sort of like known and knew myself as being the driver and, you know, sitting in the front seat and, you know, and I came into a business that was even more conservative than banking and finance.
Wow. How's that possible?
Trust me. Yes.
Wow.
And I was, again, quite naive. And I thought, well, I know this crowd. I've been in you know, in an extremely male-driven industries for my whole life. This is not an issue. And it was in so many ways, because I was, as we say in Swedish, en katt bland hermeliner, which means that I was the odd one out. Again, talking about biases that you can see, right? Like you want people to look differently so that you feel comfortable, but you actually don't want them to act differently.
Yeah. You want
because
them to blend in and conform.
Yeah. And I don't conform.
Yeah.
That's not... I mean, I'm not a shit stirrer. I love that expression. She will sort of like stab me down. Halloween is coming up. Yes. But yes, so, but again, I need to speak my truth. And if you want to make change, which was my
Your task,
your
mission.
Exactly. At that point, and also given to me by the board, you need to do things differently. And I thought I had the mandate to do that. I didn't. That was also a really harsh journey, which also almost broke me entirely. And during that time, it was COVID. So again, had to take care of all of my staff. I had the biggest staff crew in the whole company. And it was them first. Had learned some things, yes. But this time it was a bigger crisis than the finance crisis because people were dying, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it was sort of like totally different. And I left, which was the best decision I've ever made. And if I hadn't left, they had probably thrown me out anyways because it wasn't a good match.
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned so much. Extremely skilled people, like extremely skilled, has nothing to do with that. It's just that sometimes you need to realize as well when you are fit for the task and when you're not. And I just realized that managing something, taking care of something that already is, and making sure that it stays exactly how it's always been, perhaps isn't...
That's not a match for you.
No, that's not for me.
You want things to be malleable. You want to meet them where they can still change and evolve and shape in different ways.
Yeah. And I don't sort of like want to bend over backwards to make sure that people conform and you know, squeeze people into boxes where they don't fit. So I try to, you know, sometimes you have to, of course, you know, but then they have to leave. because you don't fit. And that's okay as well, if you know why.
Yeah.
So
And then that leads me to my final question here. Given all of these experiences, all of these pivots, all of these challenges that you've faced, I'm wondering, how do you define success today for you personally or professionally? How do you define that success?
peace,
Mm.
happiness. It's not money. Never been money for me. And people say, well, you can't say that because no, but it's never been about money for me. I love money. I made a lot of money. I made a lot of people a lot of money. But that's not what I'm about. So I think you can't look outside of you to find that peace. It needs to come from within. And people nowadays try to find happiness, peace, success from outside validation. And that is where they're wrong. So you need to sort of like be satisfied. I'm working every day on just being content, which is a huge problem I have because I always want more or different. Or, what's around the next corner or whatever. That's part of who I am. But still finding the balance, and sometimes also then making sure that as a driver, or in Swedish a kusk, because I'm a horse person, so...
Yes.
You have to make sure that your team is aligned as well. And you have to sometimes put your energy into somebody else and perhaps not always on yourself. And you can get fulfilled that way as well. Like somebody else's success, another company's success is your success. And I'm fine with that.
Do you feel like that's part of your legacy? It's the little seeds that you've left behind to grow and, that have yielded results
legacy,
for
like,
other seeds?
Dum sounds so big. No, but I would love for more people to see the potential in people rather than looking at people as a risk or a thing.
As a commodity.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's naive, but I rather be naive than being cynical.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I've tried to change throughout the years, which made me extremely judgmental.
I know. You become insufferable like
Yeah.
me. I know. Because I have such a hard time then relating to people who are not
exactly.
compassionate, who are not generous.
Exactly. You judge them so badly. And that's I think for me, next to being a sheepgoat,
Yeah.
snål in Swedish, is the worst trait. Judgmental people.
Yeah. So you don't want to become that, but
No.
it's kind of part of the process of like
Yeah, exactly. I was that.
showing up.
I was
Yeah.
that because that was my only way of sort of like, because I didn't know, so I had to sort of like biasly try to read people,
Yeah.
which doesn't work.
It just makes you angry.
Exactly.
It just makes you like miserable.
And it makes you feel inferior, it makes you feel jealous, it makes you like all of these ugly feelings instead of trying to just meet people where they are at the same level and just be open to whatever they send out and just like, oh, nice. Like, there you are. Hi, nice to meet you. And sometimes, of course, in business, you can't be this sort of like hippie-ish.
Yeah, laissez-faire style.
I mean, and trust me, in business, I'm different.
Yes.
Yeah. As a person, that's my values. But I think that I want to make sure that the right people are at the right place at the right time. And those people are rarely there.
Yes. We don't really lift up the right voices.
No. And that's also why I love to amplify voices, right?
Yes.
I want to support people that wants the same thing. It doesn't have to be me. Like, I don't have to take center stage. And this is why this is so uncomfortable. And this is why, filming is so uncomfortable. And this is also why I've done so much filming lately and sort of like thrown it out on LinkedIn and been part of film podcasts, things like this, because I hate it. Like I get sweats just thinking about it. I'm more comfortable now because I've done it, talking about how do you approach things when you feel uncomfortable. I just have to come to terms with, I will be extremely uncomfortable. That won't change. But if I can show somebody else that it's possible to do it, then I've done something. And that sort of like mindset makes me do what I don't like to do.
Okay. And with that, we come to the end of this conversation. Viveca, thank you so much for being here today, being our guest. If people want to follow you, they want to hear more about you, they want to see your work, they want to support your work, how can they do that? What's the best way for them to contact you or get in touch?
They can hire me talking about help.
All right, let's go. Pitch yourself.
Well, no, I don't.
What kind of opportunity are you looking for?
Well, I am a growth leader, so I would love to be within growth, and I love leadership. So whatever makes it possible for me to do good to others and help great companies grow, that's where I want to be. And of course, I love deals, business, sales, and marketing. Of course, that's what I'm all about, and supporting great people. But again, you need to tell it. You need to say it. You need to vocalize.
It. Yes, put it out
there. Not only manifest, because people say, "No, think about it." No, you need to
manifest
vocalize.
out loud. Yeah, vocalize. Yeah. For sure.
People.
I'm the same way. Like, I don't ever go anything unsaid.
No.
It needs to be said.
Yeah, it doesn't make me bad.
No,
or
it makes you.
Exactly.
No, it makes you someone
But
who.
the same thing goes with asking for help, right?
I don't know, but there's a difference between openly asking for help and asking someone specifically for help.
No.
Okay.
That's a mindset.
I
That's
know,
a mindset.
maybe. I'm very awkward when it comes to these things. Okay, so if people want to follow you, best way, LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay, so we will be linking that in the description
box. And there can be only one Viveca Viso. So, so Viveca Karima Viso now, yes. That's where you find me.
Perfect. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Yes. And if everyone else enjoyed it as well, make sure to share, like, comment, send it to your friends who are maybe struggling to find their way around networking and, being able to be there for each other. So I think Viveca has shared a lot of really positive, I would say, insights about her life and her story. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, perfect. All right. This has been Frankie and Viveca Viso, and we are bringing you Somewhere in Stockholm, a podcast production by Experience Stockholm, and we're really happy to be here, and we'll be coming with more episodes coming up soon. Yay. So until next time, we'll see you. Hey do!
Bye!